For the past week, I did what used to take me an entire month. Here's how you can do it too. For the past 8 years, I've been doing things repeatedly, and analyzing them, collecting data, making decisions, and I realized that it all comes down to these few principles. I promise that after this video, you will be able to do way more in less time, but it's actually real, and you don't have to change anything about your goals, what you do, or what you want. The way that I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna give you the stories, the lessons, and I'm gonna give you the secret of mine. So it all started when I was young, right? I was doing all of this stuff. I was 14 years old. I was making the videos again, going to school, coming back, training, doing this, doing that, trying to learn and trying to get into as many things as I can. I was doing all of the weird experiences. I literally did. So there was an Arabic account that I had when I was 14 years old. I stayed 24 hours in a closet. I stayed 24 hours outside doors. I literally went to the mountains with my friend and we get chased by a literal gang. And those things are literally like I did in my teenage years. Not everyone will be able to actually do them. And the thing is, I know that. And if you're asking like, how does this make sense? It will all make sense, and I actually promise. So I promise it will all make sense in a second. But the thing is, those things are what helped me to build the stuff that I was able to build later on. So I was doing all of these things for about 5 years. Okay, because literally that's what I thought it would work. I didn't have knowledge, I didn't have experience, so might as well just do something odd to get the attention to me in my videos at the time. But in my 6th year, I realized that, well, I can do more. If I study the algorithms, if I do the right things, I can get more for what I put in. So for the next 6 months, so it's like after literal like long period of time, so it's like we're talking about 5.5 years, the last 6 months of the 6th year, I literally did probably 100,000 times more than I did in the 5.5 other years. And you're asking, I ask myself all the time, it's like, how was I able to actually do that? Was it just natural? Because people do say that you have to believe in the process. I've been doing this for almost a decade now, right? So if there is something, I probably have tried it. It's like, even if I'm dumb, I probably have tried it. If that being consistency, quality, doing the algorithm stuff, editing, filming, being with people, being alone, doing stuff, standing, doing vlogging, doing challenges, doing podcast, everything you can think of. And this is not for content creators. I'm just giving the example here. And this applies to everything, and I'm going to give you more stories and more fields in a moment. But first, if I think the only secret behind doing less and getting more will be looking at your own data and following the 20-80% rule with no bullshit, in addition to the Parkinson's law. And you're like, dude, you just confused me. You give me 3 things at the same time. Just listen. And just don't take it from me. Take it from the guy who wrote The 4-Hour Workweek, one of the biggest books in the entrepreneurial history. For the past 20 years, everybody been obsessed with it. It's not because how fancy it is, it's because of the knowledge it is. And once you go through the pages, it's like pages 100 or so, he's literally start talking about the real shit. And what is he talking about? The Parkinson's law, the 20-80% rule, and he goes and repeats. And he's literally, the name of the book is The 4-Hour Workweek. So you work 4 hours in a week, and you get paid, and you achieve the stuff that you want to achieve. So if there is a book to get the lessons about doing less and getting more, it has to be that. Luckily, I am reading the book right now. So I'm going to give you fresh knowledge from the greatest of books. So here's the thing. When I was reading the book, he got to this point, which is the Parkinson's law. I knew the law. I just didn't know the name. I was like, okay, Parkinson's law. This is something that I heard before and I was sure. Because I stopped for a moment. I was like, this is something that I know, and I know that it's good, but I just don't know what it is. And he was explaining. He was said, You know the gas, when he explodes according to the container size. I was like, okay, sure, dude. He was like, look, if there's a task that will take you, let's say, 1 month, and you say you're going to do it in 1 week, it will take you 1 week. If you say it's going to take you 2 months, it will take you 2 months. If you say it's going to take you 3 years, it will take you 3 years. And before you think I'm crazy, I'm literally transcribing from the book. If you think the book is bad, okay, the bestseller in entrepreneurship and the number one go-to for entrepreneurs, fine. We're going to see real life stories. Elon Musk, everybody knows the guy has 200 million followers on Twitter. Duh, it's his platform, but also like he's a big deal. Once you read his biography in his book, you realize that the man literally, every single time he has a mission, he makes a milestone that is so insane that even his best employees say this is unrealistic at all. And look, I'm gonna give you two stuff here. When he was young and he was starting PayPal or X at the time, and the best like Tesla, SpaceX at the beginning, he was doing that. And he is still doing it now. Well, you know, when he bought Twitter, X, he told the team, so everybody knows about he firing stuff, but they don't know about what they actually can use. Because not everyone has employees, but everyone has time, has resolutions, have goals to achieve. So sure. He gave them a goal. He said, look, these are the servers. There was a lot of servers, different places that literally holds Twitter. It's like the entire service of Twitter. He said, you're going to move them all to Pennsylvania. They were like, there is absolutely no way. The shortest amount of time we can do this is 6 months. And they were going crazy about it. 6 months is insane amount. They said there is no way. He said I need it in 2 months. They said there is no way. He said you have 2 months. Moved out. So, 1 week later, nothing happened. 2 weeks later, nothing happened. They were like, it will take 6 months. They didn't even move anything. He was going on a plane. He got out of the plane. Well, he was in his private jet. So he said, you know what? We're going to go to the place where the service at. And they went there with his family and everything. He went and looked at the servers, unplugged the cables, got them on a U-Haul, and he started shipping them. He started moving them. In 2 weeks he was done. They said it will take 6 months, the experts. And we're talking about Elon Musk's team on Twitter. We're talking about the best people on earth, on their industry. So we're not talking about your bullshit company in your local town that runs restaurants. We're talking about the big of the big deals in the world. And he's using the Parkinson's law. And if you don't believe, look, you say, well, it was a coincidence, happened one time. You look at Elon Musk when he was young, so it's not something that is new. Now he has $200 billion to his name. When he was young, which is what you actually can do in your life, not only see what he does in his stage, now that he's $200 billion in his account. No, you see when he was at your state. What are the stuff that he was actually learning from? And you will realize something. The only thing that you can really do from Elon Musk and learn from him is using the Parkinson's law. And he literally said it. He said, for every company founder or owner or whatever, CEO, you have to do this thing. Whatever goal you have for 10 years, do it in 6 months. Make it a goal. So you have a vision for 10 years. Literally cut it down, say we're gonna do it in 6 months. He said you're not only gonna have the chance to actually do it in 6 months, but you're gonna beat your entire competition because they literally just believe they have the perspective that it can only be achieved in 10 years. While you are already in a shift of mindset that you're like, this can be done in 6 months and we're gonna do it. And here we're talking about the brightest man in the world. arguably the most smartest, the most famous, arguably, and also the richest, certainly. So when you see him speaking about something, at least you have to take notes of that. Apply it or not, it is the truth. So here you see we have the Parkinson's law, but the Parkinson's law alone usually will not get you far away. It's like, sure, I'm gonna do in the next 2 weeks what usually takes me, let's say, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Good. But now what to do? Is it just, it's like, if you're gonna say, I'm gonna eat in the next 1 week what I think I will eat in 6 months, it probably will not make sense for you, except if you're a bodybuilder or something, that maybe, but that's so rare. But the only way, and this is just obvious example, you're gonna say, of course I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna do something else, dude. Sure, I understand. But how to know that it is the correct thing? Because you probably have 3-4 things that you are right now in your mind, in your priorities. Which one you will do? Is it the easiest? Is it the better feeling that gives you? Is it the closest to your heart? Well, none of them. You have to look at the data. If there is only one thing that determines every goal that you have to make and will make 10 times better, is look at the data just to see the top 10% of your data that you did in the past 1 year. Which one gave you the best ROI? Which one got more results? So that if you have a goal for it for 10 years and you make it 6 months, it makes all the sense. Good. I know a lot of people don't like examples from, let's say, Elon Musk. Dude, I just can't relate to him. He has $200 billion to his name. I don't have that. He was born in South Africa. I was not born there. He moved to Canada. I never went there. He moved and studied in colleges in the US, etc. Sure, I'm going to give you my story then. Fine. I'm going to give you my data then. Fine. So my business mentor actually has told me about, 9 months ago, I was sitting with him on a table. We were next to each other, actually. So he was sitting with me. So if there's one thing that I learned from my business mentor that changed the entire life of mine, is this thing. He said, you are making goals the wrong way. I was surprised because my goal was my thing for the past 8 years. So I said, okay. I usually would take that as an insult, but I know he knows something. Of course, he's my business mentor. So I said, okay, tell me more. It's like, I'm listening. He said, make goals just in 2 weeks, not more. It's like you can add a little bit something. Don't make more than that. I was like, okay, then I only had yearly goals. So he said, this is weird. It's like, I just have yearly goals. He said, look, when we make a goal for a long period of time, circumstances change. You have no clue about what's going to happen 2-3 months from now. So how do you know that you will actually go through the plan and achieve those goals? It will be way better for you to make a goal for 2 weeks, because the likelihood that you can predict everything that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks is way higher than predicting what's going to happen for the next year. And I was like, dude, this is a no-brainer. So he said, if you have 10,000 followers on Instagram, so it was like me, he asked me and I told him about 10,000. He said, well, make it a goal to get it 12,500 in the next 2 weeks. And he said, that's kind of crazy, in my head, because I literally just went back to him and I was like, but I just make consistency goals. He said, look, fine, that works, that works good. It was like, I make goals based on what I can control. I can't control the followers, but I can control how many videos I upload and stuff like that. And he was totally, he was fine with it. He didn't say, no, you have to make results based, but he said, sure, do if that works for you, do what you can control. Just don't make the period so huge. And the examples of goals he gave me, in my situation, it's not only unrealistic, it's insanely unrealistic. And I'm pretty sure he has a good idea about who I am. And this changed everything, because for the next few months I was literally doing that. It didn't work. And it was, I remember I was talking about this. I said, how does he tell me that I have to make a goal for 2 weeks? When I do it, I get exhausted, I literally hate it, and I can't even achieve it. So I push myself, but then I found myself exhausted after the end of the 2 weeks. And it just doesn't make any sense. And now 9 months later, I'm like, I just say that he was correct and I was the fucking dumbass. Because he knew more than me. And that's something that happens all the time. Is that some people know more than you, some people are literally better than you, some people are more experienced than you. But the only way to assure that you're going on the right path is look at your own data. So the way that I was able to actually apply this rule in my life, because I had the data to back it up. First, when it was going it blindly, raw dogging, where people fight, there's someone who's fighting strategically, and there's someone who's literally just randomly throwing punches. Sure, it's fine to be that guy at the beginning, but once you put in more volume, you have to study what works, study what you've done. Look at the best 10%, look at the 10%, the worst 10%. So you know what gives you the best results and what doesn't. So what doesn't, you cut it off and you do more of what gives you the best results. And once you have this process in place, you can't apply those rules because for myself, I know according to the data, what am I capable of doing in the span of 2 weeks. So if I want to challenge myself for a 2 weeks period, I know how to do that. And not because I am a genius or I read something on Twitter or I've seen a podcast. No, it's just because I have the data to actually look and most importantly, analyze and make the decisions. Most people cannot actually wait until they have enough volume and analyze it, and let alone making decisions. People have problems in all three. I had problems in all three. So I had problems in doing the volume because I always, especially as a content creator, YouTube, everyone says, like the best content creator, they say it's a quality game. It's a quality platform. It's not consistency. It's not volume platform. So I for years and years, I said, okay, that's what I want to. And I tried, but it never worked. Because simply they were 13 years ahead of me. Or 5, 10, 7 years, whatever. And being 7 years prior to me in an industry that is, 10 years? Right now it's about 15 years old, really. It's 20 years, but 15 years when it's really people were uploading on YouTube. That makes all the difference. It's like getting into AI right now and someone will get into AI 7 years later. Of course you're going to beat him. Of course you can make more quality prompts and get better results at AI than him. So these comparisons will not work. So I just looked at data, okay? I looked at the data of not just bullshit podcast clips, but I've seen, I read between the lines and I took one sentence from this podcast and one sentence from this podcast. I made that the entire rule. And that's the thing. It's like there is one thing that is known right now, which is information overload. You see, everyone is making e-learning platforms and etc. and courses. The courses that doesn't work best for the clients are the courses when there's overload of information. So let's say I give you everything I know at once. It's hard to catch everything. But if I break it down to you, make sections, make plan, so I tell you at first I'm going to give you what I learned in my first year of college, then my second year of college, then my third year of college, then my fourth year. You understand how you can divide. But if I tell you everything I learned from college from year 1 to 4 in all at the same time, you get information overload. And even in the book, the 4-hour work week, mentioned it talking about magazines and how people get information overload from magazines back then. So 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that was the thing. That was their social media. And I'm not even here talking about social media. I'm talking about educational content. So let alone social media. It's insane information overload. So you have to do that selective ignorance here and there. But the thing, that's only when you start. So if you're starting out something, new industry, new project, or new whatever it is, it's better for you, it's really better for you to actually just take one sentence, and it has to be related to volume. If that's what motivates you, if it does not, that doesn't something that means anything to you to take expert advice, sure, just go do volume. Whatever, it's like find a way to do more volume. Do hundreds of what you want to be good at, right? And when you find yourself, now you have data, you can analyze, make decisions, you go through that cycle. At some point you'll find that you have so much data, like in the past few years, that you know what works, and you get to those people. So I'm not there yet, but you get to these people hypothetically. That's my theory, that when you go through this line, you will get at some point. So let's say 5 years of doing this, it should hypothetically work. But I'm not going to tell you something that I didn't try. I'm going to tell you the stuff that I know, which is working with data is better than not working with data. And if you want to do, like, as I said, I did in the past 1 week what used to take me 1 month and more. It's not something that is common, everyone does it. It's not something that I used to do. But because I have the data, I can back that up. Because I know, one, what am I capable of doing? Because I tracked like for a long period of time. So I know, let's say I can make this much. I can do this much. I can do this for this long. This takes me this time. These are the stuff that I know, and I have a very good estimation of how can I actually push myself or just make myself do something. And really how I think about it is buying back my time. So if I do something that used to take me 1 month in 1 week, that means I bought 3 weeks back of my time, of which I can pour into stuff that I think are more important or better, and will give me a higher ROI. So imagine if every 1 week you put in, you gain 3 weeks back. Wouldn't you do it? Everyone will do it. It's like saying for every year you will put in, you will get 3 years back. The only way to do this is by going through the stuff that I told you. And I'm literally speaking here based on data. So as I promised, you can literally do it from now with no need of anything else other than the information mentioned here. Literally, what you've seen here, you can never unsee. So you might as well subscribe.